Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. A massively important day of online qualifier matches for the final weekend of qualifiers for this entire season. A big scalp being taken by the Minnesota Rokkr tonight. Huge for their season. Also highly important for the winners at Major 4. Will be starting guaranteed now it seems in losers bracket going into Major 5. Not setting up their champs run at all well. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into today. We're just going to get straight in here. Firstly, though, I will mention this series of tweets here from Sib. So, well, first of all, people thought he might have been dropped, which didn't really make any sense, right? I mean, we know that Surge don't like making any changes anyway. They've made that very clear over the course of the season. Sib would not be the one to go, especially when Accuracy replied. It was quite clear that Sib had not been dropped on the day of their match. But as he does say, damn, worked hard and waited a whole year. I got to charge it to the game, I guess. Now, some of Sib's tweets, he needs to translate because I have no idea what he's talking about sometimes. Like, some COD pros are just straight up wilding out on Twitter all the time, and I can never really figure out what half of Sib's tweets even mean. I know a lot of people also looked at this and thought, what exactly is he talking about here? Because Accuracy says your life is a movie, and, you know, people were thinking, oh, you know, is it some woman or whatever he's having issues with? But, no, he says, never would that be, brother. I wish it was. I'd be on my feet dancing if it was. So, what is he referring to here? There's a couple of possibilities. I'm not exactly sure. Hopefully you guys can translate in the comments what this whole I gotta charge it to the game piece means. But this waited for a whole year. Some have said, is this a passport issue going into, well, the Toronto Major? If he could be having some sort of issues there, but I don't exactly know how that adds up. The other thing is that he had his car recently. I think he's got a Corvette, hasn't he? And people have been speculating whether basically it got nicked, right? Because that might add up to this tweet. I'm not exactly sure. So, I mean, yeah, intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below, but he hasn't been benched at least, you know, there's that confirmed. I know some people were like, oh, he just found out that OpTic doesn't want to sign him, so now he's annoyed, but I'm like, I don't really buy that one. I don't even know if Sib ever, because Pred obviously made it clear that he wanted to go to OpTic, and you'd guess that he would still probably want to come the off-season. Sib, we never really had that indication, so definitely a bit of a question mark one, to be honest, on this from Sib. We'll get into their match in a few minutes' time. Firstly, though, London versus Florida, and man, they won game 1, 22-0 before it reset for some reason, and honestly, London were torching time a bit. Now, I must admit, they have made the point a fair bit about the servers that they've been frustrated about dealing with. I believe that London weren't having a good time again with the servers they're playing on. And look, fundamentally, if it was OpTic having troubles with the servers, it would be a much bigger deal because it's London, nobody really cares. And I get that because why would you care when they're absolutely terrible anyway? But look, they got smoked in about 30 minutes here. There was some serious technical delays and the series still ended like 20 minutes before it was scheduled to. Like, that's just how bad these guys are right now. It's actually tragic to witness because there is some talent there, but man, it's just completely dysfunctional and they've all lost the plot, obviously. GG's Florida, says their coach. 4 server tests for their tool to not work in the real game. Then it's a 55-60 ping or nothing when they are in the lower 40s. 6th series we should have played on a Dallas server, which hasn't worked for 2 months, by the way, to play on 55 plus ping. So this is very interesting, to be fair. Now, as I say, people aren't really going to care because it's London, but fundamentally, this is a serious problem. If the Dallas server that the CDL is using isn't even working, and therefore teams like London are being forced to play on other servers where their ping latency tool doesn't even work and they're playing at a disadvantage, that's not ideal. Does a 15 ping difference make them win that series? No, but obviously, given the fact that they knew they were on worse pings, it gets in their head, their performance as a team isn't so good, and it's not going to matter for London anyway. They're not making champs, they're not going to do anything at the final event, but still, it's definitely valid criticism, I think. If the CDL say they've got these server tools that work and then they don't, then you can understand why teams are going to call them out on it. So definitely wanted to mention that. However, Mutiny is responding kind to this tweet as Raven say, if we can't make champs, you can't either. Technically, they can. And if Mutineers were to get very lucky with the way the other results fall, and also were to basically win the next event, they could technically still make champs. And in fairness, they're looking rather good right now, right? I mean, Florida have had an up and down season, but now they're looking seriously strong. They smoked London, and yes, it's London, but they did beat Thieves the other day, so some impressive victories. I'm not expecting them to go that far in the major, but that secures winners brackets for the first time this season for the Florida Mutineers. Brack had 20 deaths in 3 maps. I mean, I've never really seen anything like that before, and in fairness to Vickle, ever since he's come back into this team, he has been absolutely cooking, and has been definitely proven why he belongs on the Miami Heretics or whatever, when it's going to be a Spanish-based team, with Vickle presumably still there when we go into next season. Let's talk Thieves then, man, because wow, this is the story of the day. They lost Ultra, Subliners, both the losses that can happen. The Mutineers one was a shocker, and they needed to bounce back today against the Minnesota Rokkr. Maybe a honeymoon period would be in place today for Rokkr because they brought in Attach back into their starting team, but Thieves were expected to handle business, especially because they are 15-1 going into the series, map count against Rokkr this season. They never lose this team online or LAN, but that changed today. Game 1, first of all, Bance and Fame both had great maps here. I think that when we discussed this Rokkr team the other day, I was pretty clear, and I think most people were pretty unanimous, that putting Fame on the sub is a no-brainer decision. This should have been done when he first joined the team. The debate that I had was, is it, right getting rid of Afro, or should he get rid of Bance? And I think that's still a valid question, but Fame on the sub was always a no-brainer, I thought, to be honest, and he was just way better on it immediately when they actually put him onto his preferred role. So that was showing that certainly in part they've made a good call here with the roster change that they have made. I like bringing back Attach, I like putting Fame to a sub. The Afro or Bance question was the big one that I had, but I mean, yeah, the amount of points that they've arguably thrown away by not making this change, or just making a poor change earlier by dropping Attach for Fame, is pretty criminal, to be honest. But yeah, they come out here swinging. Bance has a great map one. Obviously, they value what he brings to the team for comms and other stuff, and in fairness, lately, Bance, from a slaying perspective, has been pretty much as good as Afro. Their Search and Destroy, though, still isn't good, and if this went Game 5, I feel like Thieves would have won it. But the problem is, for Thieves, they cannot win a respawn right now to save their lives. Thieves do quite well to bounce back here in the Search and Destroy. Very nice shot here from Octane. Drazah had a great map here, went 11-2 as well, but then he got fried on the Game 3. He's done this a couple of times now, I believe, actually. When on this Game 3 Expo Control, he got fried in a series he played a while ago on this, but I think they still won it. And then they play Minnesota today, actually a team that's pretty good on this map. And I was a bit confused by the vetoes as well, because Minnesota got a lot of maps that they're rather good at. Like, Thieves pretty much just chowed them on maps where Rokkr are good. So, I get Thieves like this map for sure, but I feel like they could have maybe gone in a different direction here on the vetoes. Kenny has a good moment towards the end of this control, but in the end doesn't matter. Rokkr take it, that's a 2-1 advantage for them. And then I thought, alright, it's going to go Game 5. Here we are on Fortress, good map for Thieves, up 164-82. I look away, I look back like a minute later, and the scoreboard is now this, 177-195. So they went from this to this in basically a minute or so's period, a full collapse in the middle of the game. Rare, like, we went to the listening with Thieves and they sounded pretty frantic, like, they wasn't their usual calm, collected communication, because they know they're under pressure and they knew they were squandering this lead, as indeed they did, and eventually Minnesota closing out relatively comfortably, and this was the immediate reaction from Octane, just a real shocking turn of form for the Thieves. They won the last event, let's not forget. They looked great online going into that event. This isn't just the normal online Thieves jitters. And yes, you would believe they go back to LAN, they'll play better. They probably will. Same story with Toronto, you would think, back at Major 4. They came into that event, they played poorly in the online qualifiers going in after winning the Major 3, but they still made a decent run in losers, played well on LAN, but eventually went down and finished top 6, I believe, in the end, right? So if you start in losers, doesn't matter how well you play on LAN, you're probably not going to go beyond top 6, top 4, more than likely. So Octane deeply frustrated, and you can understand why. I mean, the team has just fallen off a cliff lately. The fact that they've lost, I'm pretty sure they've lost 6 respawns in a row, have they not? To Rokkr and Florida. That's borderline criminal behavior. Like, how is it possible to lose 6 respawns to those two teams? Like, yes, they've obviously made improvements, and I want to give Rokkr credit for putting Fame on the sub. Attach didn't really have to do much. Cammy was in complete takeover mode today, which he's always got in him, right? And whether that's been unlocked, or whether just Cammy really likes playing with Bance, and now with Attach back in, he's feeling better about it. Maybe so. It seems like Rokkr have made a good change, and it's working out well for them. But the Thieves situation still is pretty much inexcusable, right? And as Bance says, finally beat those dab guys, and yeah, Drazah not happy at all with his performance on the day as well. The other side of the coin, of course, though, is this is bad for the Las Vegas Legion. This puts them in a tricky spot. Now, as Clay has said before, if they don't make Champs Vegas, it is on them. They squandered a great chance to beat Florida way back at Major 4. If they won that, got another few points on the board. But again, they're 20 points now behind the Minnesota Rokkr. Rokkr both have a game yet to play here. It's Minnesota play Toronto in their final game, and Vegas play Seattle tomorrow, which now really becomes a must-win, it feels like, for Vegas to keep up with Rokkr, because Rokkr are now looking very good to start in winners. They've got a great map count, sitting at something like 9 in 7, so even if they lose to Toronto in a close series, that should be enough to win whatever 2 in 3 tiebreakers there are and get into the winners bracket for Rokkr, so that's really big for them. Vegas could do it, they might not do it, it's not guaranteed. So yeah, tough scenes for Vegas, and yeah, Legion found falling to his knees in Walmart here, because definitely a tough result for them, especially the way they looked. I mean, you would look at that Minnesota team and think, all right, they're going to go to the major and at least get a couple of decent results there, and that would pretty much secure their champ spot. So Vegas might even have to hope now that a team like Boston does a full collapse, but of course that's not guaranteed as well. So difficult to say, right, is this Rokkr looking great, because they haven't won an online match in 110 days. They finally did so. They did look significantly better, but Thieves, I mean, yeah, their comms, their respawn play, the slaying from especially Drazah and even Octane, and Kenny was there. I mean, Envoy has been their best guy really for some time now, especially in these series that they tend to struggle in. Envoy's doing his thing and the other guys just can't seem to put any slaying together. Drazah with a 0.85, Octane with a 0.83, far away from the numbers that we're used to seeing from Thieves, and yeah, they really can't get anything going right now, especially in the respawns. Their performance there has been shocking, and that now leaves them at 0 in 4 series count so far. I believe also they're 5 in 12 map count, maybe 6 in 12 map count, something like that. So even if they 3-0 their final series against London, they will have a bad map count of something like 8 in 12, I think is what it will be. They'll be 1 in 4 series counts. There's no way that's getting them to winners. There'll have to be some ridiculous 1 in 4 tiebreaks for that to even give them a chance, and I'm pretty sure that's just not going to happen. So one win is not going to be enough to get you to winners. I think it's guaranteed now they're going to be out of there, and they will start in losers at the major, which is, I mean, especially with Florida confirmed, that's going to happen for sure. Shocking turn of events for them. What is next for this roster? And even Najot was cooking them, right? I mean, 0 in 4, one major for a month ago. Get ready to learn Chinese bunny type thing. Pretty funny stuff. We're going to dive straight, though, into the Seattle Surge versus Subliner series, because, man, this was fantastic to watch. Two unbelievable players, MVP candidates of the season, going at it head to head. I will say, as JoeDeceives says, the veto decisions here from Surge were certainly interesting. They love getting rid of Mikado hardpoint. That's their auto veto. That led them into 2 hardpoints that Subliners very much like. They didn't win both of them, but it was enough to get them over the line in the series. Game 1, though, it was the Pred shot. I mean, this was a ridiculous end to the Game 1. 20 untraded kills, which is a number that's so absurd, you'd think there's no way another player has a map in this series that outdoes that, but indeed they did in map 3 of the series. But yeah, Pred took over Game 1, that's a victory for them. Game 2 looked like a similar story. Sib did well, he looked a bit shook to be fair, maybe because of what we talked about earlier today, I don't know. Had a tough Game 1, but he does clutch up here in the round 2, or in, well, the Game 2, one of the earlier rounds. So at this point you're thinking, alright, Surge probably going to run away with the series, but no, Hydra says no. They go down 5-2 in this map, and Hydra makes plays every single round to bring them all the way back in this one. Hydra at this point 17 in 6 and a 10 spree, gets the 18th kill of the game to go on an 11 spree, bring them back in the game, win the round 11. That ties as well the all-time CDL record for kills in a search and destroy at 18, ties Insight's record from back in the Cold War days. So mega map from Hydra, and he did not slow down. Game 3 was the same story. It was actually it's so good to watch this guy, right? I mean, Hydra to me was right. I mean, he was called for some time an MVP candidate, best player in the game. Scump called him the best player in the game not that long ago, but because Subliners haven't played so well, people forget about Hydra, right? It's how it goes, and he was on my MVP candidate list for some time. He just about fell off it, I think, recently because they hadn't been performing so well, but, I mean, Hydra still got what it takes, man. With this guy's in takeover mode, there are very few players, Pred is among them, but, you know, there's very few players that can do anything like what Hydra can do, and when he's flowing, it's just incredible to watch. He kills everything, and he knows when to play slow as well. That's the most impressive thing about Hydra. He's not like mindless aggression. He knows when to be patient and get the kills, like Pred in many aspects, but what a ridiculous game. 33 and 13, 29 of those kills were untraded. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. They kept up the momentum as well. I feel like after those couple of maps, there was no way they were losing this final map, especially because they're pretty damn good at it as well. Hydra is still making plays. In the end, Surge make a bit of a comeback, but it wasn't ready to be, and Seattle Surge go down 3-1. 2-1. Subliners take the win, and Surge find themselves now in quite the predicament. A 3-1 loss. They're now 1-3. Again, we said that Vegas need to beat Surge earlier, probably to ensure their chances stay alive. But Surge need to beat Vegas to try and get to winners. So that's a massive series right at the start of tomorrow. Subliners with a big win for them. I mean, just securing that they might even secure the number 4 seed over Thieves come the World Championship, just because Thieves are falling off, Subliners are turning up. I also forgot to mention that Mack got completely cooked in that Search and Destroy. He went 2-11, and I said the other day, right, that the Search and Destroy for Mack has been his weakness so far this season, and he's obviously playing like the weak link. I mean, look at these numbers, right? He's 54 in 93 with a 0.58. Pred has a 1.4, Hydra's a 1.6. I mean, this is one of the most ridiculous scoreboards you are ever going to find. And is it a massive surprise? Like, okay, Pred doesn't have the most damage on his team, that goes to Sib, but still, its accuracy and Mack, the usual suspects, getting put to bed by Paco. Just outrageous stuff. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.